Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you're joining us today in today's live lecture coming to you from Nkolo Mahadum Wisdom University. Today's date is Oye Market Day in the Igbo lunar calendar, while today in the foreign Roman Catholic calendar is 7/13/2025. And we have been saying that it is better we follow our own Igbo lunar calendar. I remember at Nkolo Mahadum, we always advise you to use your naturally given common sense, which we call akonuche in Igbo language, to always evaluate any information you are seeing or hearing before you make a decision. And also, we present and package our lectures from Igbo man, from Biafra and African perspectives, because you see things from how it concerns you. The title of today's lecture is Basic Educational Requirements for Office Holders in Igbo Land, Biafra and Africa. The basic requirement everybody should have before you say that you want to serve the Igbo race or serve the Biafrans or serve Africans. This information is very important so that you can give them proper representation. Proper representation is when you are doing what the people want you to do, not what you want to do. It is very, very, very important. And please join us. We are live on YouTube. We are live on Facebook. We are live on Twitter. We are live on TikTok. Please join us, like, comment, and share. Share this lecture to get to everybody. One of the basic things that you have to know in this lecture is that human beings are created equal. All human beings are created equal. There's no human being that is more advanced or more important than the other. And human beings have been existing in this world for millions of years. And even during the American Independence Declaration in 1776, they said that all men are created equal. So even the Americans know that all men are created equal. Even though when they do things all over the world, you question that assertion. Are all men really created equal? Yes, but all men are created equal. That is what we want you to know. And that the papal bull, the papal bulls, and actually the papal bull, the first bull issued by Pope Alexander VI on the 4th of May, 1493, and other supporting papal decrees, papal bulls, played a central role in the Western European conquest of the world. When we say Western European conquest of the world, we are talking about Britain, France, Germany, Portugal, Belgium, Italy, and Spain. These 7 countries were the one that was conquering other people as a result of the papal decrees, which they call papal bull, during the Catholic age of discovery, that gave them the power to go and conquer other people. And that was why in between 1884 to 1885, in the Berlin Conference, where those Europeans, those 7 European colonizers, placed the map of Africa on the table and shared Africa to themselves. And we want also to let you know through this lecture that some countries are not colonized. And we want to mention the names of countries that we are never colonized in this world. Countries such as Afghanistan. You know, last few years, they went to war for 20 years to colonize Afghanistan. They've been trying for years. Afghanistan is not colonized. Bhutan, Iran, Japan, Liberia, Mongolia, Nepal, China, North Korea, South Korea, Saudi Arabia, Thailand, and not Turkey, and not Yemen. These 13 countries have never been colonized by anybody. So they have been living their life from the time that humans appeared in their geographical area. It is very important that you know that. That is why this lecture is a very good lecture for every African. In fact, for everybody in the world to understand how the world is, that some nations were never colonized, that many of us, especially the Igbo race, the Biafran people and African, were colonized, and we have lost our land and the resources and people as a result of that. Then Britain got Nigeria out of that amalgamation, out of that Berlin Conference between 1884 and 1885 in Germany, and then amalgamated the northern and southern Nigeria together, the Igbo race and the Oduduwa with the North together in 1914 to form a country. And then, you know, during that period also, after the scramble and partition of Africa in between 1884 to 1885, that also gave the Europeans power to start to come physically into African land to rule Africa. That is called colonization. That led to colonization, where they introduce all their systems, where they impose all their culture on the people of Africa, like their religion, their education, their banking, their government system. That was when all those things was imposed on the African people. Then leading to the time of independence, when Africans started to get their independence. And soon after Nigeria got independence in 1960, there were corruption, mismanagement, and ethnic tension in Nigeria. And that was why Nigerians had that January 15th to 16th, 1966 coup to address the corruption, the mismanagement, and ethnic tension and rivalries, which Britain and their propaganda wrongly baptized as Igbo coup, to demonize, to paint the Igbo race black. They say it's an Igbo coup. It wasn't an Igbo coup. It was a coup meant to sanitize the corruption in the system and to resolve the ethnic tensions and rivalries. And then followed by the July 1st, 1966 counter coup, which also led to the killing of so many Igbo military officers and civilians. And subsequently, the Aburi Conference, which was held in Ghana between January 4th and 5th, 1967, of which General Gowon was the one that absconded, that didn't follow what they agreed at the Aburi Conference. So when people say now we are asking for regionalism, you're asking for restructuring, that is at the Aburi Conference. They already said no to that. And soon after, the Nigerian Biafran Civil War from 1967 to 1970. And that war, in that war, you know, Britain is a Christian country, right? But they supported the Muslim North, the Arabs, to fight against the Biafrans, which are many of them are Christians. And up to today, Britain, a Christian country, is still supporting the Arabs, Fulani Arabs, to be in charge of the country. and millions of Biafrans were killed in that war. Some people estimated it to be up to even 7 million. Some say it's 3, 4, 5, and 7 million. And billions of properties were lost in that war. And after we are forced into the war in Nigeria, what is going on today? A lot of marginalization. We are not given equal opportunity. A lot of roadblocks in our land. No seaports, no international airports, no federal government presence. There's quota system. There's a lot of injustice. You can see manifesting in the trial of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, who was illegally renditioned from Kenya to Nigeria. A lot of imprisonment and killing of our youth. A lot of poverty in our land. And so many other things, and the migration that is going on. A lot of our people have migrated from our land to outside Igbo land, which they call abroad. When you live abroad, you live outside Igbo land. You can be living in Abuja, in Lagos, in Kano, or in West African country, in Senegal, in Ghana, or Burkina Faso. You can be living outside UK, America, Saudi Arabia, but you live in outside Igbo land. And so these are some of the things every African, every Igbo man should know before you think about occupying any office in Igbo land. Or even if you are in office right now, this is something that you have to know so that you can be providing proper representation, proper leadership for the people. And leadership based on what the people want, not what you, the leader, want. It is very, very, very important that every leader, everybody representing the Igbo race, be it in your village association, be it in your town association, be it in the states as carved by the colonial masters, be it in any Igbo organization across the world, you have to have this information. Understand how the world works, that everybody is protecting their own, that there are countries in the world, in this world today, that we are never conquered by anybody. But we, the Igbo people, the Igbo race, we are conquered, as well as defeated in the war between Nigeria and Biafra. And we have to be aware of this, that we have a different, we are in a peculiar situation. We are in danger of the fact that we were not only colonized, we were also defeated in a war. And therefore, if you are a leader of any position, if you are leading, if you have any leadership in any Igbo organization or in the state, you have to be knowledgeable about this lecture. That is why we are making this lecture for you. So even if you are a professor, who is a professor? A professor is a teacher of high ranking in a college or university. You are just a teacher. So even if you are a teacher, you're supposed to have this knowledge, because being a teacher or a professor, you are only in one area. You have to be versatile. You have to get all the information about how the world functions so that you can know how to represent your people. And a professor could be the one, a teacher in a college or university, or a person who affirms a faith or allegiance to something, like professor of religion. And a medical doctor is a qualified practitioner of medicine, or someone who holds a doctorate. That's what is called a medical doctor. Some are even conferred. So some people, you don't even have to go to the colonial Western education to be conferred as a doctor. You can be given a doctor, just like you can be given a professor without going through the Western colonial education. Who is an engineer? A person whose job is to design, build, repair machines engines or electrical equipment. You are an engineer. You have only knowledge about one side, engineering stuff. That's where you have your knowledge. And who is a judge? A judge is a person who is in charge of a trial in a court. Remember, most of these meanings are derived from Western colonial education. And so with that Western colonial education, you also have the right, because the world is open now. We are in the 21st century, to get more information about the world, how the world functions, so that you can be a better leader for the Igbo race, for the Biafrans, and for the Africans. You don't just become a professor or a doctor or an engineer or a judge or a lawyer or a pharmacist or a therapist, and then you don't want to get other informations that is relevant for you to serve the people well. That is why we are presenting this lecture to you today, so that you know that this information is very important for you as a leader to know. Unless if you are working for the colonial masters against our people. If you don't want to get these informations, or you already have them, and you still are not representing our people well, then it means that you are an agent of the colonial masters and not working for our own people. You are not giving our people proper representation. That is what we want you to know in this lecture. Remember, Nkola Mahadum is an university. We package and present lectures. The lectures we are presenting is for those who really want to gain knowledge. Nkola Mahadum Wisdom University is not a gossiping center. No, we only package lectures that will stimulate you to think, because we want better things for our people, for the Igbo race, for the Biafran race, for the African people. That's why we are set up. And so, what we are saying in this lecture is that there are basic educational requirements for any office holder or anybody aspiring, if you want to serve Igbo, Biafran, or African in any level, be it a secretary, be it a provost, be it a chairman, whatever you think you want to serve our people, be it a governor, be it a minister, be it a diplomat. If you are representing the Igbo race in any shape or form, this lecture is for you. If you have the intention of representing the Igbo race in any capacity as a public servant, this lecture is for you. To know that all human beings are created equal. There's no human being that is more important than the other. An American or a Chinese or a Japanese and an Igbo person, we are the same people. What the difference is the information you have, the discipline you have, and how you are implementing the decision you are making. That is the difference. And so, even during the American Declaration of Independence in 1776, they also said that all men are created equal. So we are equal. So if we are equal, why will you allow somebody to come from somewhere and conquer you, and you are defeated in a war, and you are representing that race that was defeated in a war, and you're not doing what the people want you to do? That is wrong. And so we want you to know that what really changed the world that we live in today is the papal bull issued by Pope Alexander VI on May 4th, 1493, and other supporting papal bulls, which gave the Europeans power to go to other people's land, to conquer the land, to kill the people, to take their properties, and to enslave them. That was what the Papa Bull did, and that was why we are suffering today. That's what we want you to know. And that the countries that actually benefited from that Papa Bull are the Western European countries, like Britain, France, Germany, Portugal, Belgium, Italy, and Spain. They are the beneficiaries of the Papa Bull that went out of their land to other people's land to conquer them, to kill them, to take their resources. And that is why African countries was split, was shared in the Berlin Conference of 1884 and 1885 in Germany. That was why they shared Africa to themselves. When they shared Africa to themselves, they shared you. Whether you are in America, you lost your land, wherever you are, your land has been taken and resources up to today. And we want you to know that there are countries that we are never conquered. Why can't the Igbo race be one of those countries that we are never conquered? Know that countries that we are never conquered are Afghanistan, Bhutan, Iran, Japan, Liberia, Mongolia, Nepal, China, North Korea, South Korea, Saudi Arabia, Thailand, Turkey, and North Yemen. So if you're an Igbo man, if you're an Igbo man, and people from these countries are talking, are you going to be talking? That is how the world is. Sometimes you badmouth people from Afghanistan, from Iran, you badmouth them, but they are better than you because they are not conquered. They are not even defeated in a war. And so that's what you have to know. Because soon after Britain was given the geographical area called Nigeria, they amalgamated them together, putting the North and South together to form one country. Before then, we have been living our life as an Igbo race. And all this led to independence. So what you have to know is that since the Papa Bull of 1493, the Western Europeans have taken over from 1493. And then when the slave ended, remember the Papa Bull led to slavery. When the slave ended, America ended slave trade in 1776, and then Brazil was the last country to end the slave trade in 1888. So soon after that, between that 1776 and 1886, they already shared the map of the land of Africa to themselves. So colonization started. And that colonization was when the Europeans imposed all these their institutions that we have right now in our land, both the education, both the Christianity, both the governmental system and structures, both the communication system, the banking system, everything that we have, that was the time they imposed all those things on our people. And those colonized information and structures is what we are living off of today, because we are colonized. And as I was saying before, so Britain put the two southern and northern protectorate together. And in 1960, Nigeria gained flag independence. But there was a lot of corruption and mismanagement and ethnic tension and rivalries. That was why you have that January 15th to 16th, 1966 coup. That coup is to sanitize the corruption and mismanagement and resolve the ethnic tension and rivalries. But the British propaganda termed that coup an Igbo coup to punish the Igbo race. And then on July 1st, 1966, there's another counter coup. That coup killed a lot of Igbo military officers and also many Igbo civilians. And that counter coup led to the Aburi Conference. In the Aburi Conference in Ghana, which happened between January 4th and 5th, 1967, where Gowon agreed for restructuring, regionalism, for everybody to stay on their own. But the Nigerian government under Gowon failed to implement the agreement reached at Aburi. And hence, anybody calling for restructuring now or calling for regionalism now should go back to the Aburi documents. And that led to the Nigerian Biafran War, because it was Nigeria that actually came and started shooting, started killing our people. And that war started. And in that war, Britain is a Christian country, but they supported the Fulani Arab coalition against the Biafran, some of them, many of them, Christian people. And today, Britain is consistently still supporting the Fulani Arabs against the Biafran Christians. And in that war, some people say 3 million, some say 4, some say 5, some say 7 million people were killed. And countless billions of properties were destroyed in that war. And when we came out of that war, remember, we were given only 20 pounds per household and other injustices. And we have been marginalized up to today. A lot of roadblocks for extortion and harassment of our people and exploitation. And then we don't have any federal presence, no international airport, no seaport. Our people are being profiled, our youth imprisoned and killed. There's poverty in our land. There's injustice, which is climaxed by illegally abducting Mazi Nnamdi Kanu from Kenya and then putting him in solitary confinement in DSS custody up to today. So these are the information that every Igbo leader should have, so that to guide him when he is making decisions or making utterances for our race, for the Igbo race, for the Biafran people, or for the African people. You have to have this information. If you have this information and you are not making decisions that will favor our people, then you are working for the colonial masters. That is short and simple. If you already have this information, if you have this information, and you are making decisions, you are not doing what our people want in our land, then directly or indirectly, you are working for the colonial masters against our people. So even if you are a professor is just somebody that had Western education and is a teacher in a college or university. Somebody can also be a professor by faith or allegiance. A medical doctor is a qualified medical practitioner of medicine, or someone who holds a doctorate. Some are even conferred or given for free, but who don't attend Western education. Engineer is a person whose job is to design, build, repair machine, engines, or electrical equipment. And a judge is a person who is in charge of a trial in the court. In these instances, you specialize in only one thing. Your specialty is only one thing. So for you to serve our people, you must understand the basic educational requirements as presented in this lecture. You have to understand it. Because if you don't understand it, there's no way you can lead our people well. Whether you are a village chairman or village secretary, or town chairman or town secretary, any position you have, be it a governor, be it a commissioner, be it a diplomat, be it a minister, or any other position you find yourself representing the Igbo race, the Biafrans, or African people. You have to know that we are conquered people. You have to know that even the the case of the Igbo is different, because we are not only conquered by the Europeans, we are also defeated by war. And you should know that there are countries in this world that are never conquered. And when people from that country is talking, are you going to be talking as an Igbo person? You can sit on your bedroom and be criticizing the people of Afghanistan who have never been conquered. In our lifetime, we have seen how they defeated the NATO forces, plus America. They defeated them, and they pulled out of their country after 20 years of trying to conquer them. And so we should understand that we, the Igbo race, we are in a serious, dangerous predicament, that our leaders should be listening to the wishes of the people, of what we want, not what they want. It is not what you want that you should be doing. It is what will benefit the whole of the Igbo race, because of what we have suffered, what we have continued to pass through. That we are migrating out of our land today. Some people call it success. No, your migration is a failure, because you don't ask yourself, the people you are in their country, how many of them are in our land? How many of them are in our land? Every culture is living in their own land. It's just we, the Igbo people, the Igbo race, because of we are conquered and defeated in the war, that is leaving our land to other people. And you as a leader, in any capacity in Igbo land, you are not factoring that into your leadership, then you are working for the colonial masters. And with this, we shall be bringing today's lecture to an end. But before we do, always come together to dismantle all the colonial boundaries in Africa. Because if we Africans cannot go to Western Europe and say, you are one country, you are one country, why should we allow them to come to our land to say, you must be one country? And they kept it that way up till now. Dismantle it to free Africa from mental slavery, from poverty, from intimidation, from wars, so that we can have a voice like every other race in the world. And with this, we shall bring in today's lecture to an end. Thank you very much for joining us, and have a good day. Thank you. Bye-bye.